When I think about the Jets' loss to the Ravens on Thursday Night Football, I think it is a great representation of how this year as a whole has gone for the New York Jets. I mean, I'm going to go through this bit by bit, but generally, when I look at that game, the Jets looked outmatched. They were doomed by bad penalties, bad offensive line play, and right now they just look decimated with their roster with the injuries, and I get that's part of it. But they just look completely overmatched. There's some good things you like to see. There's some good things you can take from this game. But overall, it was just another frustrating effort from this New York Jet team. And I'm going to start it off with Sam Darnold. Now, it's not pretty when you look at the stat line, 18 to 32, 2 touchdowns, an interception, a fumble. But I did think Darnold played well. And this, to me, was a game, like I said, that I think sums up the season pretty well. You see the talent is there. You see a lot of things you like. The throw to Jamison Crowder, I can't think of how you could put it in a better spot than Darnold did. You look at his mobility, avoiding a lot of the rushes, being able to make some big plays in this game. And I thought Darnold, for the most part, played actually pretty well, all things considered. And you look at the big mistakes in this game. If his receiver doesn't stop running the route with Smith on the near sideline 3 plays before the interception, that could have been a touchdown. Robbie Anderson, was he interfered with in the end zone? Looked like it, but it still looked like a catchable ball on 4th down. Doesn't help that the field goal team and the kicking unit left 4 points on the board. But once again, you see a lot you like from Darnold, but there's also a lot of decision-making that you want to see made better. And it was just another game where you just kept going, man, I can see it, but it's just not all the pieces are there. And even Adam Gase in his post-game conference said Darnold's going to be a very good player, and I'll get to Gase in a minute. And you can see the upside. And he's still 22 years old. And people, I think the easy thing to do is, the Jets made a huge mistake passing on Lamar Jackson. Look at where Lamar Jackson is now compared to where Sam Darnold is. It's completely different. Lamar Jackson, no one thought he was going to be this great. If people did, he would have been the first pick in the draft. Let's be honest. There's a reason why he was picked 5th. Because a lot of the scouts felt that he was a very dynamic runner, but not a great thrower. But what has he done? He's worked on his throwing. He's added more muscle. He's been able to absorb more hits, and he's been dynamic. No one saw this coming. I mean, let's be honest. No one saw this season that Jackson is coming, let alone the player he's become. And let's not forget he was also put in a great situation. I mean, Darnold is going through his second year, right? He's already on his second head coach, second offensive new scheme. He's already on his second general manager. And the ownership group, not as good as the Ravens. So I don't think that that's a fair comparison. But what I will say about this moving forward for Darnold, I do think he has been doing a better job taking care of the footballs. 2 turnovers. And the fumble I don't really put on him. It was a weird play. I thought he actually maintained possession. But if you looked, he wasn't even finished with his drop back and was getting absolutely creamed. And behind this offensive line, I think he's made a better point and he's made some better decision-making. Obviously, I would like to see better decision-making from Darnold. But we're at least seeing the progression over the last couple weeks of him protecting the football a lot better. And let's be honest, this is an offense that isn't doing him any favors. He doesn't have a good offensive line in front of him. He has some good dynamic players, but no game breakers. I mean, Robbie Anderson's a nice number 2. Jamison Crowder's a really nice slot receiver. But they're not guys that can single-handedly take over a game, and defenses have to dictate coverage. And the biggest thing that's hurt Darnold this year has been the tight end position. I mean, Chris Herndon, this was supposed to be a breakout year for him, and it's been a complete wash. Then Ryan Griffin was fantastic for this team. You look at the value of the tight end for Darnold right now, that's his favorite target. That's his go-to in crunch time, and he doesn't have that. They're down to their 3rd-string tight end, who looks like he ran the wrong route on the interception. And I'll get to that in a minute about what Adam Gase said. But overall, I liked a lot of the things Darnold did last night. I still think he's got a long way to go. But you see the talent is there. You see with some of the throws he made. Darnold has the talent to play in this league. But the question is Adam Gase the guy to unlock it? And last night, you didn't feel good as a Jet fan. And for some, if there are Jet fans that think Adam Gase should get a second year, and I'm not one of them, last night was another reason why you don't feel comfortable with Adam Gase going forward. At the end of the game, did you see what happened after another 4th and 1 call where they go for it and they don't get it? Sam Darnold, one of the things I loved about him and why I thought he would be a great fit for the Jets was his demeanor. Darnold has great body language. He's calm, never gets too riled up, always seems to be in a good mood. But last night they did a cut to him after that 4th down conversion late in the game, and he was getting at it with Adam Gase. Christopher Johnson, this has been an embarrassing year for this franchise. It's not that they're a bad team. It's that they've been embarrassed. You look at this season, some of the milestones this team has gone through, it's embarrassing. They're the first team in NFL history to lose to 2 winless teams that started the season 0-7. That's embarrassing. In primetime games this year, they've lost every game by more than 20 points in all 3 games. It's one thing to be bad in a 1 o'clock game, but in prime time when the entire country is watching, the Jets have been absolutely embarrassed this year. They were embarrassed in that first game against Cleveland. They were embarrassed in the Patriot Monday night game with the Sam Darnold ghost call. And then last night they were once again embarrassed and looked overwhelmed. I've been saying this for weeks. The only way Adam Gase can save his job is if he makes Sam Darnold look great and makes Sam Darnold look like the Jets have a franchise quarterback. But you know what the problem is? Gase has not elevated Darnold the way you thought he would. Let me just give you a few examples, okay? Did you notice when Darnold started to play better, what was that after? Was it after Adam Gase made a radical adjustment? Well, yes, it was after his quarterback went to the head coach to tell the head coach, this ain't working for me. We need to make a change. The thing is, Darnold has looked better than what he was when he kept turning the football over in that span. But does he look significantly better than last year? I think he looks better, but I'm not like, wow, I have no questions about Sam Darnold moving forward. And look around the league, Christopher Johnson. What's going on right now? Do you know who's the hottest quarterback in the league, not named Lamar Jackson? Oh, yeah, that'd be Ryan Tannehill. Remember him? The guy Gase said he could elevate, and Tannehill played well, but Tannehill didn't play like this with Miami. And, oh, by the way, who's the head coach for the Tennessee Titans? It's a middle linebacker from the Patriots, Mike Vrabel. Adam Gase said 2 weeks ago in a press conference he's too concerned with calling the perfect play. The problem with Adam Gase is he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. And Manish Mehta actually had a great tweet about this last night that's saying Gase came in to interview for an offensive coordinator job in 2015 with the Baltimore Ravens. The biggest reason they didn't hire him, he came off as arrogant in the interview. Last night, he threw his quarterback under the bus in the press conference for the interception. He basically said there was no miscommunication, even though it clearly looked like a miscommunication. But he said there was no miscommunication. You just threw your quarterback under the bus. You don't have to answer it like that. You could have simply said, I don't know what happened on that play. I'll go look at the tape and we'll make the adjustments. Not throwing anyone under the bus with that, are you? But this was one of the biggest issues I had with the Adam Gase hiring was, what did he do in Miami when things went wrong? It's not his fault, it's the player's fault. It's everyone else's fault except Adam Gase. And now he's pointing the finger at his quarterback. And you could see last night, this relationship between the two, it's not as great as Gase might believe it is. Because I have never seen Sam Darnold get that upset with anyone. And I guarantee you it's probably over the fact that on 4th and 1, they never ran the football last night, even though they have Le'Veon Bell who can lean forward for a yard. Or I don't know, the most efficient play on fourth down's a QB sneak, and Darnold's an athletic quarterback, but they didn't decide to do that either. I do think that this is going to be a situation, and I get that they want continuity. I get that they don't want Darnold to learn a new system, but let me seriously ask you this, Christopher Johnson. Do you want to be in a situation like the Giants and have to fire Gase after year 2? Because even if you bring him back for next year, which I still don't agree with, you have to look at this head coach and say, is he going to be here for the long term? Because if you're just saying, well, he'll be here next year, well, that's not the plan. You want a coach that's going to be here for the next 5 to 10 years. And this is a time when there's a lot of NFL coaches, not just coordinators, coaches like Mike McCarthy, Ron Rivera, who actually have the experience in being successful head coaches available. I mean, what more do the Jets need to see? I mean, they've been embarrassed, and I know that Gase is going to use the excuse and do what he's been doing, basically blaming the injuries, blaming everyone else. It's not his fault. But you notice what happened when you gave Le'Veon Bell the ball last night? He actually did pretty well. Gase is an arrogant head coach, and you can't be an arrogant head coach because this is a humbling game. And if I'm Christopher Johnson and these last few games go poorly and this team finishes 5-11, you have to consider a new head coach because you just can't bring back Adam Gase just to say, you know, I want continuity and I do think he can be the head coach for next year. If you don't have confidence he's going to make it to year 3, it's better to get him out a year early. Get another coach in while you still have Darnold on this rookie contract. It's better to get a head coach in now and admit that you made a mistake than letting this continue. Don't let this happen. This team, they're embarrassed, and the head coach is not accountable. There's been a couple times he says he needs to make better play calling. Well, that hasn't happened. And last night he was throwing your young quarterback under the bus, despite not giving him great protections and throwing the football. The Jets throw the football 75% of the time when they have good running backs. And Sam Darnold is better off play action. I don't get what they're doing. I just am flabbergasted by how inept this head coach is. And I get that you don't want turnover. I get it's a bad optic. I get all of that. But let Joe Douglas have influence on this next head coach. Get a guy in here who's a head coach. I don't care if he's an offensive guru. Just get a guy with head coaching experience. Because right now, Adam Gase, what has he done to show you that he is an offensive innovator? The Jets' offense is one of the worst in the league. Darnold has seen slight progression. The only reason we've seen the progression is because Darnold had the wherewithal to demand that the offense change from Adam Gase. If you have this quote-unquote offensive guru, why does the quarterback have to tell him that they need to change things up to be successful? So we'll see how these last few games go. It'll be interesting to see how the Jets finish the season. But they finished poorly, and I know, Christopher Johnson, you made that declaration that Adam Gase would be back next season, and every Jet fan that heard that basically cringed. But this team plays horribly, and they finished 5-11, and you see more scenes of bickering on the sideline between this quarterback and this head coach. I'm telling you this, every Jet fan will tell you this, and every football expert will also tell you this. You get rid of the head coach, Adam Gase, before you do anything with Sam Darnold. Because right now, Gase looks overwhelmed, clueless, and the most damning of all, he is arrogant. He doesn't understand how to be humble. And last night, he had a great chance, but he just threw his quarterback under the bus when he didn't have to. He's been throwing guys under the bus all season. And if this continues, I don't want to see what's going to happen in the locker room. Because the biggest move Jet fans would love to see this offseason, even though it would be offensive line, pass rush, or corner, I guarantee you most Jet fans, after another Another humiliating loss on national television where Jet fans will have to hear it from all of their friends and coworkers saying, hey, those Jets, now they're a laughing stock. The biggest thing the Jet fans want for Christmas is Adam Gase out of the building.